this is just kind of giving you an idea of how you tune your skis. I mean, if you take your skis to Illinois or wherever to get them tuned, that's fine. They do a good job. And we're also going to kind of talk on like in between races and stuff like that, because they can do a generally good job. But if you've never raced before, you've done some. Has anybody else done any kind of racing? Everyone's just done fun skiing. You've raced, okay. So, if you skied around Wisconsin enough, you know what the conditions are like around here. We've had some pretty rough winters, and last year we were actually putting salt on the ski hills around the gates where we turn around, because it was so slushy. The only way to ice it up was to actually put salt down, which turns it into ice. It's science. I don't know how it works, but that's just what we were doing.
Yep.
And it turns it very rocky and very icy. So more than anything, keeping the edges, which is the metal part of your skis, tuned up and sharpened will make a huge difference, and will also keep you safer because you'll be able to carve through this stuff a little better. The wax, you get a good coat of wax on for a season, you'll probably be okay, unless there's very big shifts in the temperature. Wax can help you with that, but the biggest thing is keeping the edges tuned. So I'm going to go through how you basically do a basic tune with the edges, with the wax, and then we'll talk about kind of the in between the race type of stuff. What I use is basically everything you see here. I ordered all of this up on Amazon. I've been doing this for a while. I raced in high school. I went to Pius. I've been skiing since I was kindergarten or younger, and I raced 4 years on the team at Pius. It was a very prestigious ski team of maybe 12 of us. It wasn't very big, but I don't even know if Pius has a team anymore. But so I raced for 4 years, and I basically did everything that I raced at all the hills that we raced at. I had a really good time, but it was a lot of fun. It was a good group of guys and a couple of girls I skied with. We had a blast. I loved it. But we did learn there how to take care of our skis. One of the coaches showed us, and then I've got 3 kids. My daughter was on the team for 4 years, and she has since graduated. My youngest is in 7th grade, and he is showing interest. He might even show up at some of the practices. So I figured I might as well just stick around in case he wants to do it in high school. There's no point in taking any time off. So, I've tuned. We have, between the 5 of us, we have I think 8 pairs of skis. I've got, because I kind of hoard them, like people get cars or whatever. I get the skis. And my daughter used to work at Play It Again Sports, so she still does work at Play It Again Sports, the one out in Capitol, and I always know when they're getting their skis, and so, well, maybe I'll try those pairs. So I always end up switching them out. So between all of us, I just didn't want to pay to have all 8 of my skis tuned, so I just started doing it myself, and I've been doing it for quite a while. So basically everything I got off Amazon. So the kit you can get, there's a bunch of different ones, but everything is basically made by Swix. So you get this handy dandy little bag. And it comes with the tuner, the file, which as you can see is quite well used. You get the different brushes, and this you use after you've done clearing the wax off the skis. These are I should probably replace these at some point. You get the brushes, you get the rubber bands to keep the brakes down. These are called gummy stones. Actually, these are well used as well. You use to clean the edges off before you start tuning to get like rust, or because all my skis stay on the garage, and you get moisture in there, and you'll get some rust. So it helps just clean them off before you start actually doing the tuning or detuning and on the edges. And then you get this file comes with it as well. You kind of uses deeper the skis. This is kind of how you detune them, to kind of clean the edges up before you start doing the sharpening. And then you get that iron. I have made the mistake of using a regular iron in the past to do this. I do not recommend doing that, because irons have holes where the water is supposed to come out. You don't want to get wax in there. I've ruined at least one iron doing that, so I would not recommend using a regular iron. These are flat. Yeah, they have some dimples in them, but it has grooves so that the wax can run off, so you can put the wax down on the skis. Oh my God.
Welcome, come on in.
So like this, separate all this stuff. So this is everything you get in the kit, and there's varying degrees of what they sell. I think the kit was like 100. I don't even remember how much it was. It was like 100, 120 bucks or something like that. Oh yeah, and then you get, this is the scraper. This is for taking the wax off. This is the scraper you get for taking the wax off your skis, which is the most, out of all of this is probably the most time consuming thing to get the wax off, depending on how much you put down. None of the wax comes with it, but this is all the different waxes I've got. And again, it's all Swix. You can get this stuff at Lemoy. I just order up off Amazon because it's Amazon. It's quick and fast. There's all different versions of it. Most of it is temperature specific, unless you're, depending on what type of skiing you're doing. There's just universal glide wax. There's racing wax, and there's different temperature ranges. Like the blue stuff's really cold. This is -4 to 14. The yellow, I think this is the warm one, 26 to 50. And then the one I'm using tonight, the general one, that is kind of the catch-all, is, I got my glasses on. It's -12 to 36 degrees. And then if it gets, God forbid it gets really cold, there's 7 to -26, and this is the same as the red. So you can debate, so if you wanna get, kind of nerd out on this stuff and really get into the weeds on it, you can wax your skis as much as you want. It doesn't matter, because as long as you're scraping it off, you're gonna have a decent base. So depending on the temperature of the race night, if you wanna actually put different wax on, you can do that. I think last year I put the warmer, I think one of the last races we had, that foggy one, when it was almost 50 degrees, I put warmer wax on Anna's skis. I mean, maybe it helped, I don't know. Maybe it's just a psychological thing. I'm like, here, put some different wax on your skis, or I had her do it. Because after a while I got kind of tired of doing it. Like, you gotta tune your own skis. So this is the basic kit that comes with all of this stuff that will allow you to tune your skis. The other thing you can get, and if you have a table like this, I highly recommend these. I will pop the ski off. Yeah, these are my K2 rental specials. I got these separate, but I also ordered them on Amazon. They're basically like like a vice clamp you can get like for a workbench, but they're for skis. And they just attach, to twist them and tighten them up on the bottom or edge of anything. I have tried tuning skis without these, and it's a pain in the butt, because you're trying to, especially when you're tuning the skis and everything else, they kind of move on you. This helps hold them in place. This also works for snowboards, if you got any snowboarders in your family, because it's the same idea behind tuning a pair of skis works. It works for snowboards too. I think the only difference is there's a bigger scraper, just because the base of a snowboard's bigger. These work really well. I really like using these, and you can tell by the wax that's all over these things. I've been using them quite a bit. So I just have a workbench in the basement that's basically like the same setup as this table, and I just slap my skis on there, it holds them in place, and it works really well. So this is all the stuff I've ordered. There are varying levels of how much stuff you can get. I mean, if you're just gonna have them tuned at Lemoy, fine. I mean, they do a good job. They tune skis well. They've done it forever. They're good quality. There's good people working there. You can get, I think they sell this individually. If nothing else, if you want to keep your edges sharp, and I'll show you. I'll go through how to use it. Is the tuning file. This helps tune the side edge which is this part right here, and then the base edge, which is this metal part right here. The other thing I have tried, I got this last year, and I'm kind of sold on it. Not 100% sure. This is, God, I can't even remember the name of the company, but this is another one I got. It's basically the same as the tuning file. Same idea, a little bit easier on and off. It has, these are what do they call it? Omnidirectional. Like this one, you have to go specific. You can only go one way with it, otherwise it won't tune the edge. These are kind of, I think they're fighting away, and you can go either way with it. And they have different grits. It's like sandpaper, so you start really, really rough, and then you get smoother and smoother as you go on. I tried this last year. It's okay. I think it's more good for like kind of finishing and stuff like that. But I'll go through kind of how I use it, how I incorporate it. So there's all kinds. Swix is the main company that I've gotten all my stuff from. They're pretty big, and their stuff's pretty good quality. So you can go full hog and get all this stuff. You can get just gummy stones, you can get the file, you can get individual things, or they have the entire like package that you can get. For me, I don't even know I haven't tuned my skis in so long. I don't even know how much it costs to tune skis. Has anybody done that yet?
It's like $70.
It's like $70.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this stuff, I think all of this stuff together, everything I've gotten is probably $200 ish. And I tune 6-7 pairs of skis, so it kind of pays for itself in the course of one season. So if you're going to be doing it a lot, and I just like doing it myself, so it's one of the few things I know how to do. So Not the most
Good
handy.
something.
I'm not the most handy person on earth. You want me to, fix your house? Call somebody else. You want me to tune your skis? Sure. So it's good to help kind of like help my daughter kind of appreciate like, oh, if I want to be able to carve better, I want my edges sharper. I want to help her kind of pay attention to that stuff a little bit more. But all right, so we'll get in. I'll get into that. We can do, if you got any questions, just fire them away. I don't really care if anything comes up in your head. Just ask. But so what I'll go through is basically how you start tuning your skis. So that one's done except for the wax, and that's why there's pink wax all over the place because I did that today. So this ski I used all last year. The last time I skied on these was in March, I think. So you can see there's you can see the bottom's got some pretty good gouges in it, and the side edges are a little rough, but that's just what happens when you ski. So the first thing you do is you have to put the brakes away, otherwise it just gets in the way. So they come with these really thick rubber bands. So I'll just set the brakes so that they're out of the way. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by cleaning the edges. So you start with a gummy stone, actually. Can I get, let's use gummy stone. So there's different firmnesses or hard, I don't even know what the word is, thickness of them. Some of them are pretty soft. You can see this one's been used quite a bit and it just kind of disintegrated on me pretty good. That's why I hit me throwing that one away. And they basically help you just clean off any rust or any gunk that's on the skis. So you don't have to go any direction with it. So you're basically just gonna rub it down on the base edge like this. And if you see, I'm gonna do some chunks of it, like any rust or any dirt. And then the more you do it, if you're getting enough off, the edges will actually start to shine a little bit. I've had some pretty old skis I have a pair, I still have the skis I raced on in high school. They are 201s, which I don't even know if they even make anything that long anymore. I mean, they are I'm 5'10", they're like 6'2", something like that. They are really long skis, and they're the first generation when they made parabolics. And they started putting that curve in the skis, and those things were rusty. But I broke them out just to see if I could still ski in them, and I can. But man, it's a lot of work. Like a lot of work to trim those things. But that's what I raced in. We did slalom and giant slalom, same thing as we always do. So I was doing those turns in 201 skis that are 6'2". So that's when you really have a ski. Anyway, so you're just going over the edge, just clearing off any gunk or rust. Thankfully, these are in okay shape. So you get the base edge, and just flip it over under the grooves there, and get the side edge. All in all, to tune one pair of skis, usually you can get it done in less than an hour. Most of the most time-consuming part is getting the wax off, and I'm not going to get all the wax off of that because it's going to make a mess. If you can do it outside, great. I always just do it in my basement. And I just have a shop vac handy to take all the wax off, because when you scrape the wax off, there is quite a bit, and I put a lot of wax on those skis just because I had some gouges in them, and I'll get to what this thing is in a minute. But anyway, so you're just running the gummy stone over it, just clearing off rust or whatever else might be on the edges.
If you get wax on your floor and leave it, you will have a dangerous skating rink.
Yes, I actually have. I have a big thing of 60 grit sandpaper, and because I have part of my basement's not finished, so it's just the poured concrete like this. And I've come down in my socks, and I've almost like hurt myself because I slipped so bad. I actually have sandpaper where I will sand my poured concrete floor so I can get a grip. Because if I have socks on down there, it is like being in an ice rink. So, all right, so you just rub the gummy stone over there, and I've got a couple of them, because even I'm just doing it once, you will put some gouges in this thing pretty quickly. I'll do it. All right. So that's what the gummy stone does. And then the next thing I'm going to do is kind of do what they call the detuning. So you get this little file, and if you look at your edges, like these are kind of chunked up. I mean, these are old. I think these are probably rentals at some point. But if you look at kind of the base of the edge, there's little dings in it and little imperfections and scrapes over time. Now you can't get rid of those 100%, but you can take the bite out of them. And what the file does is take care of any burrs or any like if there's any little like flakes of part of the edge that are still hanging off. So all you're gonna do with the file is you just kind of, and again, this can go backwards or forwards, it doesn't matter. So you just kind of run it along the edge. And if there's any burrs or any loose little pieces that might have come up, you're just clearing those out of there. And you will take, you'll see some, it'll look like almost like glitter, but you are taking a little bit of the edge off. And for these, it won't take a whole lot. I mean, if your skis are in relatively good shape, depending on how much you used them last year, a couple of swipes, out of habit, I usually go tip to tail, but you can go back and forth if you want. But for me, mostly out of habit, I usually just go tip to tail. In this, you kind of hold it at a little. It won't go straight, because if you straight, you'll scrape up the base of the ski. So I kind of hold it at a little bit of an angle, and I'm just running it along the base edge. So if there's any burrs or anything, you'll just take them out. And if you do scrape, if you do leave some, you'll see it like I am kind of marking this up. But it's not that big of a deal, because when the wax goes down, it takes up the space of whatever was there. This thing's got some pretty good. I'm trying to remember what the heck I went over. I don't even know.
A rock.
It's a rock. I don't know. They have rocks in Colorado too. Probably around here. I don't know.
Has anyone done this before themselves, or is this, yeah?
Yep.
You're not yet?
Yeah. Yeah, I tune pretty regularly. I don't wax too often.
Yeah, the wax is fine.
See, I wax but don't tune, so you and I.
Oh, all right.
Get
There
together.
you go.
Good match.
Yeah, a good coat of wax will last you quite a bit. I mean, considering how much if everyone's doing ski club and stuff, you could probably get away with. You could get away with one if you're kind of recreation skiing. If you're racing and there's big temperature changes, you can do. I mean, like I said, you can wax your skis every week if you wanted to. If you really wanted to go down go that way. But if nothing else, one or two. We'll do just fine unless you look at the bottom of your skis and because we all know what the conditions are like around here, and if the snow is light, you might need to add just if there's any chunks missing or anything like that. So kind of the same thing I was doing the other one. You can just kind of hold pretty much right on the edge and we'll take care of it. Get on here. Holy cow! There's a burr right there. So just, a couple of swipes down and back. You can put a decent, like I'm putting a decent amount of pressure on it just to help it dig in there a little bit and take anything off. So you can push down on it pretty good. I mean, you're not gonna worry about taking too much off. But you should see some of this flaking off to know you're taking some of it off with you. All right, so. That's the gummy stone and the file. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start actually tuning the edges. So this will kind of help hold it in place a little bit. It's still going to pivot on me, but it's not too bad. All right, that's on. So the first thing I'm going to do is the bottom edge of the ski. So that's where this thing comes into place. So on this file, because it's, I should probably get a new one of these too, but because it's what's omni, is that one? Any, this is singular in direction. So they usually come, the one I got has an arrow on it, but it is kind of faded. So I actually drew a little arrow on the sides of it so I can, because I can't picture which way to do it in my head. So I had to write that little arrow in there. So when you do it, so it's got two different slides. One's for getting this edge and the other one is for getting the side edge. So for the base edge, you just slide it in this part. And since I don't know which side I'm gonna do first, I just look at the arrow. So the arrow is pointing that way, which means I'm gonna be getting, and this is the other pain in the butt, these things don't line up sometimes. So I'm gonna do is it sits down like that, and then, oh yeah, it's got an angle. You can do, I think it's 2, 1.5, 1, and 0.5. I think it's like the degree of the angle of the base edge. For skiing, for more aggressive skiing, for racing, they recommend 0.5. I think you can get some that even go even more minute than that, or much smaller changes. Since this one's kind of a general ski tuner, it does half degrees. So I just did 0.5 because that's about the most aggressive cut you can make. I think they actually have mechanical ones now that you can set up that plug in, and you can actually they run down the base of the ski and just tune it. It's like almost automatic. It sits on wheels and it just runs. I don't know how much those are. If somebody wants to get one and donate it to the team, that'd be great. I have not looked into that. I've seen a couple of videos on it. Like, if I ran my own ski shop, then yeah, a lot of them will probably have something like that. But for me, I do it by hand. So again, it just slides in. You just kind of see which. For this one, it goes in the flat side, and then I just look at the arrow. So the arrow's going that way. So you just kind of get it on there, and then you just get a decent amount of downforce on it. And again, it's one direction, so you go tip to tail with this every time. So I can back up, when I back it up, I'm picking it up so I'm not grinding the other way, because the way the file is shaped, it only tunes going that way. It's kind of like if you're doing a regular file or something like that. But for this, you have to go one way with it. So I'm just gonna, and you should feel it biting and grabbing a little bit as it's going down the edge. So I'm pushing on it a decent amount, and this has to pivot. So you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you're taking flakes off the edge. So you should see a little bit come off. I mean, it would take you a long time to take enough of it off where it would, wear this down. There's a lot of metal in here. So since these skis are relatively in okay shape, for tuning the side edge, 2 or 3 swipes down the entire length of the ski usually does it. So it's just picking it up and then pushing down on it. Slide that around. So I'm scraping up the base, but again, it doesn't matter because I'm gonna wax them anyway, so they'll do it. So I just do like one like that, and then I'll try to do one singular pull. Sometimes that works pretty good, sometimes not. So I'll push down on it pretty good, and you just feel it biting. There we go. So I took off a decent, a couple little flakes of it, which is good because that means you're digging into the edge, and if there's it'll take off some of the scrapes and dings on it. It may not take enough off. If there's some deep grooves in there, you'd sit there and file it all day long, and it probably wouldn't get to it. If they're bad enough, I think they can actually replace individual pieces like that. My daughter happened to take off. She had a pair that broke off, like this cracked and separated. And I think I would ask them how much that would be. They're like, just replace the ski. I'm like, okay, good to know.
But now's the time to look at your skis before the season and see if it's bulging or you have any issues or delamination.
Yep.
You want to find out now and not December 15th when we pull in the practice.
And then since I'm changing sides, I gotta flip this around, loosen it up, slide in, tighten it up, and then arrow's going that way. Okay, cool. So again, same thing. Yeah, because there's a decent scrape right there. You can kind of sit there and work on it. Might get it out, depending on how deep the cut is.
And I do my own, but once a year or every other year I'll bring it in and have it professionally done because they can just do a better job.
What are you trying to say?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, right.
Nothing personal.
I'm not insulting. No big deal. No big deal. All right, so that was like 3 across. So you can kind of tell if you're doing it right, you can feel the difference. Like I can feel the difference in the ski. I mean, if you want to know if they're sharp enough, if you can rub your finger on it, your top of your fingernail, and you start like there. I just took off a big chunk of my fingernail. That's how you know they're sharp enough. So they should be that sharp, if not sharper. And I'll say it now, if nothing else, if you can get one of these in between races, this is something you would want to do. And it takes 5 minutes. Just to run down the base edge, and if there's any, like you can even do the detuner and just, if there's any burrs or anything, but in between races, if you can get one of these, I'd highly recommend doing that because it keeps your edges sharp. We all know what the conditions are like around here in the winter. It gets pretty icy, and the sharper your edges are, the easier it's going to be for you to dig in and carve through that stuff. And it'll make it, it'll make you quicker. It'll make you get around the gates faster. It'll make you safer too. All right, so this is the side edge. So the side edge. Now we're going in here, and this is where it gets. Flip around. So this is where those arrows come in. So this one, arrows going that way because it'll ride on the outside, kind of along the base. Because obviously, what runs here, you're just going to run into your bindings and it won't work. So I have to look at I'm like, okay, that's the arrows going that way. Okay, I'm going the right way. It's kind of a lesson in visual thinking, I guess. So you get down there, just tighten it up. It should be, kind of flush in there. So this one's been used quite a bit. Tighten it. Helps if you have fingernails sometimes. Okay. So the side edge works kind of the same way. So it rides on the outside. And then you're just gonna go forward. I kind of take the pressure off and then just push on it as I'm going down. There you go. And then if you're doing it right, like you can kind of see, there's flakes in there. So you should be taking a little bit off of here. And if there's flakes building up on the inside, then you're doing it right. And you can put a decent amount of downforce on there. Like I'm pushing fairly hard. Oops. But if you push too hard, that happens. So the most part of your ski that's going to be doing the turning for you, that you're going to be putting all your weight on, right, is right through here. So if nothing else, you want to make sure you're pushing down pretty good and hitting it hard through here, because you're out here hardly touches. And back here, so the main point of impact is basically like the middle of the ski. So if nothing else, you want this to be, as sharp as you can make it. Ow. So you're just pushing on it. And if you push too hard, there you go. So it helps if you have this balance. First time I've ever done that. And then I can tell I'm getting it in there because there's flakes all in here that are building up. So I'm like, okay, I know I'm pushing hard enough and doing that pretty good. So again, if I want to feel how sharp it is, I'm flaking off my fingernail. So I know the edges are getting pretty sharp. Flip it over. See if I get in there a little bit tighter. Make this a little bit more balanced. Of course, the binding's getting away, so that takes care of that. And then we'll do the other side. So I'm just going to. I've seen the pros use rubber gloves, which can probably help because the hands are going to get a little dirty. But sorry, so there's everything I was taking off right there.
Are you at 1 degree now on the bottom?
Half. It's still half. I keep it the same for both, just to keep it symmetrical, I guess. And 0.5 is one of the more aggressive cuts you can make. So, I'm a fairly aggressive skier. I was telling them, I still try to race Anna. She graduated. She's a freshman in college now, but I still try to race her as much as I could and beat her because that's that dad pride. Like I can't let my kids beat me. So I still tune my skis pretty aggressively, so I can still ski about as fast as I did when I was in high school. I don't do the jumps or anything like that because my poor back can't handle any of that. But speed-wise, I'm comfortable with it still. Okay, so yeah, arrow's going that way. Okay, I'm good. So again, it just sits on the outside. And you're just pushing pretty hard and kind of making sure you're kind of overlapping a little bit so you cover the entire edge. Yeah, I'm taking some flakes off of it, which is good. You want to take some of that older metal that's on there. All right. So about 2 to 3 pulls. You can do more if you want. I'd say at least at the minimum do like at least 3. And then, yep, leave a fingernail. So I know I've done a decent job making it pretty sharp. So you can kind of feel, yeah, it's got a decent cut on it. And then once that's done, it's time to do the wax. So that's, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. And I've got some pretty decent gouges on these things. So interesting.
Do you have to clean that file stone though?
This?
Yeah.
Nope. You mean you can get like I don't know where the little scraper thing is, but you can get like this. This is actually for cleaning the brushes out. But you can get in there and scrape it off. Otherwise, I just take it and tap it into the garage, or into the garbage. But yeah, this is pretty well worn. I've had this for I don't even know how long, but it's held up pretty good. It works really well. I mean, if you want to change the angle, it's just a little wheel here you got to turn on. You know if this works anymore. Oh, I have to use a screwdriver to do it. But if you wanted to adjust the angle, you can. I just dial it down to the 0.5 to get an aggressive cut on it. Yeah, can I borrow a bottle of water from you? Oh, I left my towel in the truck. You got it right anywhere. Otherwise, I'll just use my sweatshirt if I have to.
Little paper towel.
Did you blow your nose on this?
No, I was wiping out the whiteboard.
I'm gonna use my sweatshirt. I'm just gonna use my sweatshirt. So, if you can get, if you have a rag or anything like that, I'll just use my sweatshirt. That's fine. It's a multi-purpose coach's sweatshirt. Only we can have it. So all I'll do is I'm just gonna, if there's any flakes of anything, just kind of brush it all off. Good thing I'm doing laundry tomorrow. So I'll just take all that off and make sure it's dry. Just if there's any, like, get the dust off, because you don't want any of that stuff sitting in the wax if you can avoid it. Clean all that and get the base a little bit smoother. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that doesn't matter. That's just. And then for the wax, all the waxes, if you look at them, on the bottom somewhere, where is it? Oh yeah, it'll have the temperature you want to set the iron to. So that's got a temperature gauge on the inside of it, and it gives it in Celsius and Fahrenheit. I think that's got a. It's got Celsius on it. So if you want to do the math, otherwise gives you. Yeah, it says this is 130 or 255 Fahrenheit. Just that's a good temperature for the wax to melt on. So you just want to set the iron to, get it to that temperature. That way the wax is all taken care of. I didn't put too much water on it. And then this is where it can get a little messy. That way, if you can do it outside or put something down underneath, or if you're just like me and don't care, I just let it get all over the floor. But that's when you can get your floor a little bit slippery. So if you can put like a tarp down or something, otherwise have like for me, I have a shop vac in the basement, and I'll just clean all that up at some point. That way I'm not, turning my basement into a hockey rink. So with the wax, all you're gonna do is, you're just gonna hold the wax on the iron, and then you're just gonna run down the length of the ski and drip wax all over it. For me, I kind of do a squiggly line, like a sine curve almost. I just back and forth and just get it all. You don't have to get, depending on how gouged up your skis are, if they're pretty smooth on the bottom, you don't have to go real heavy with it. This has some fairly thick. Like this one's got some gouges in it. Now, if there's really deep, I guess I'll cover that right now. If there's some deeper chunks missing out of the bottom of your skis, you know, because it can get kind of bare if you hit rocks. You can get these, what are these called again?
P-Tech.
P-Tech. So you can basically get these and you can use the iron for it. And obviously it's dark because the bottom of my skis are dark. They make black and they make white because it's two basic colors. So you can get it, you can put it on the iron and drip it directly on the gouge, and then you use the iron and smooth it out, and then scrape that off as kind of a precursor to doing the ski wax. So if there's any big gouges, you can do some maintenance like that on them. This I got separate. I don't even know how much this was, but I got this on Amazon. They basically sell. I got 2 sticks, one black, one white or clear in it. You just dribble it on and right over where the gouge is, and it fills it in pretty good. For this one, I'm not going to worry about that because these are just my general purpose skis. So in light of doing that, I just, like for that ski had almost an identical gouge in it, just whatever I went over was, you know, big enough. I just put a lot of wax down, which can cover it a little better. The only problem is you're going to be scraping for a while, which is what I'm going to end up doing later, but I'm not going to do the entire wax removal process because we'd be here forever. So the way I do it is basically just hold it kind of at an angle and you just stick the wax on, wait for it to start dripping, and there it goes. And just kind of push the wax on, and then I'm just gonna kind of go up and down across the ski. And just basically keep it moving just to keep it from cooling up. And like if you've got bigger gouges, you want to cover it up, you can just tighten up, or you can just run it over and over and over again. Then I'm done. I'll pull it away, and then if there's anything left over dripping, I'll just let it go. Drip a little bit extra, couple extra spots. And then what you do with the iron, which is another reason why you want a flat one and not a regular iron, is you're just gonna spread the wax. So what I do is you just basically let it sit, and the trick is you don't want to let it sit there for too long. So I'm just gonna get it, the wax does start drying. You can see it dries pretty quick. I'm just gonna move it around a little bit to help cover the ski. So I've got this metal plating on here, so the wax only goes so far, which up here doesn't really matter. And I'm just gonna run it along the length of the ski until the wax is spread out pretty evenly along the base.
So you just want to make sure the iron's not touching the base directly. It should float on the wax, otherwise you can damage the base.
Yep. So and the other thing is I don't let it stop moving too much, but I'm creating little waves, but I'll go back over that here in a second. So I'm just going over it just to spread it around the base, just like this. I have a pretty light grip on it, just so I can let it float. I'm not pushing, you don't push down. I'm just letting the iron float on the wax like Mike said. Just to get rid of a little design there. And then again, I go tip to tail. So I'll just do another, just kind of hold it on there and nice and slow, run it so you get rid of these little waves. Oops, it stopped. And I'll just run it along the little link. You'll feel it kind of catch on the little waves up maybe. Just slowly let it go. I'm hardly pushing on it. I'm just letting my fingers just kind of glide it along that base of the ski here. That's it. So there's a couple, like I can actually see a couple spots where I stopped because I can see the dimples from the iron. So I'm just running it a little bit smoothly. See that? See where it's not on there as even. So you can almost like ironing a shirt sometimes. You can just go over it a couple of times. Just like that. So once that's on, and I've covered it. This tip, this isn't really riding on. This is the part of the ski you really want to make sure it's covered. Covered at the gouge is pretty good. I mean, you can go real heavy with it, you can go light on it depending on what you're doing.
Go real heavy, it's more work scraping it off.
That's, yeah, now's the labor intensive part where you want your kids to get involved. But through the magic of preparation. So you let it sit for 15, 20 minutes. I've let them sit for hours. I've actually heard that for like when you de-winterize your skis, actually putting a light layer of wax on as they sit like in storage over the spring and summer can actually be kind of good for them. I've never done that myself, but I've heard.
I do that with all my skis.
Do you?
Yeah, store them like that. There's a special storage wax you can use too that just
you can get
keeps the moisture out.
Yeah, it'll help keep.
I leave them like that all summer.
I waxed
Just
earlier
scrape
today,
last
so
night.
this wax has been sitting on here for a while. So this is. All right. And I won't go through the whole taking the wax off part because, like I said, we'll be here tonight. This is the longer part of the tuning a pair of skis and biggest pain in the butt. So you can see I put a lot of wax on this one, so I got gouges, like there's clumps of it on the sides, which that's what this little hook in here is for, is to help take that stuff off. But basically, what you're gonna do, again, this is why I like having the vise here, because when I do that, I tried doing this on just a table, ski just flies everywhere, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So all you're gonna do, again, same thing applies, tip to tail, you take the wax off with your scraper. So you start at the tip, and you're just pushing down, and you start scraping. Sorry, I'll need a broom later. So you are basically you're going to scrape until you're not hardly picking up any wax off the ski. You are just scraping and scraping and scraping and scraping. You're taking a good portion, like you're taking almost 3/4 of the wax you just put on, you're taking it off. Because the idea is that it goes into any grooves, anything that was on the ski, you're trying to make it as flat as possible, and you're just taking off all the excess, and you're taking off a good portion of it. So this is the longest part of it. Usually if I'm doing this, it takes a good 15 minutes or more. But you're just scraping and scraping and scraping and scraping and scraping. So you scrape until as you come across it, there's hardly anything being picked up by the edge. You can leave a little bit of it on there and it's fine. And then intermittently what I'll do is I'll take the brushes, and there's three different thicknesses to them. So there's like really firm, medium, and then smooth. So the firm, which is, I think it's, these are pretty equal. What you do is after you've taken off a bunch of it, again, tip to tail, you're just scraping off anything extra. And that's a good way to know if you've gotten a lot of the wax off, is if you're scraping, you're not collecting a whole lot. Like this, I only did 2 swipes, so there's a decent amount of wax being collected on here. And you're scraping, what it actually does is create little grooves in there actually to help channel snow and everything through the base of the ski. So you just scrape and scrape and scrape, and then as you get through it, you go into the medium one, and then at the end, well, this is the medium one, you get into the soft one, and you're just kind of cleaning everything up, and then that's basically until you're to the point where you're hardly taking anything off of it. The scraping takes a while. Again, it can take you a good 10, 15 minutes of just scraping. The only thing I can tell you is, again, I don't have my towel, is tip to tail. Is just go forward to back every single time.
I got a metal scraper last year and it cut that down to like 5 minutes.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually used this. I'm not even, that thing's stuck in there. Not even better. So maybe a metal one might work better. So I'm going to use that when I get home.
How do you use that thing for the wax on the edges?
So what you do is you just run it along the base edge, and it just takes off the wax that's on the edges.
How does it sit on there?
So it just sits on top. And you can kind of, here, I'll do it this way. So you can kind of see it just sits like that.
Yours has a little cutout in it, right?
It's got a little cutout, so you just run it along here. I'm not gonna keep going because I don't want to all screwed. And then for a penny and for a pound. So you just get all the extra wax off the sides. You just scrape all that off. So that's what that little cutout's for. That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. And then once that's done, then you're done. All you gotta do is clean up the mess you made. That is basically it. Again, one pair will take, I think the first time it took me over an hour, but as I've gotten better at it and more used to the routine, I can get a pair done, and it depends on how much wax I put on it. 45 minutes to an hour, usually for one pair. That's about it. But it makes a difference. I mean, I wish I could have, I can't really tell between the two of them, but once it's down, you'll definitely notice the difference in the base, and you'll notice the difference, you know, just before you tune them, just give it a feel. I mean, now there's wax on this thing, I scrape off, but I've noticed the difference, and I can tell a difference between a pair of skis I've worn for a while versus a pair I've just tuned. Especially carving and turning, you can just feel like when you dig in, your skis just bite, and you are just, it doesn't take nearly as much effort, and you are just making really, really good carves in the snow. I can tell the difference between a pair of skis that's been tuned and one that has not been done in a while. Again, the biggest thing is that either way, get them tuned however you want to do it. Do it yourself. Again, just because I have so many, I've got 5 skiers in my family, and you know, all those skis, it's just, for me, it was just, one, more cost effective. 2, I just, you know, if I'm off work, it doesn't take that long. I don't do them all at once, but throughout the course of the week, I'll just grab a pair of skis and go do it. Or if nothing else, get them tuned, get a good coat of wax on them, and then in between, if you can get a file or like this one, again, this one is, it works the exact same way as this one does, except it can go any direction. You can go back and forth with it. For me, out of habit, I always go tip to tail when I'm doing this. And this is a pretty rough file. These will help you smooth out your edges and probably get them a little bit sharper. What is this one? This one's 240 is what you start with, and then you work all the way to, I think it actually has a regular file on it too. So you can start with the file, go to 240, and then I think the last one's 1,000 grit. So it's kind of like when you're redoing hardwood floors. So you start with the toughest grit, and then you do the finer grits, and that will help smooth the edges out and clean them up a little bit better. I've only used this one a couple times. It works pretty good. I just really like the feel of this one better. I can tell I'm taking stuff off, and I can tell I'm making the edge sharper when I use it, just because of the nature of this file. So I really like this one. This works pretty good too. This is more for like kind of fine tuning. And I honestly bought it just for the heck of it, just to try it out. If I had to choose, I would go to this one almost every time, just because I can definitely, when I use that file, when I'm getting into the edge, I can feel like it's biting, and I can feel it scraping, and I can feel it taking off. These are a little bit I don't think they bite as much, which is one of the reasons why there's so many different grits on there. It works pretty good. I've been using them for so long, I'm just kind of a creature of habit, so I like using the what is this called, the multi-tuner. So they might just sell this one individually. I do bring this to the race with me, so if no one hasn't tuned, or you want me to I can get the edges kind of quick at a race if time permits. Sometimes it doesn't, because we're busy. There's a lot going on in a race that the coaches have to do, so if I can get to your skis and scrape them, I will. But if you can get one of those and just give the edges a tune in between races, it'll make a big difference. Especially, we're going to be on, it's inevitable that the course gets icy depending on where you're racing, because the order usually goes girls varsity, boys varsity, girls JV, boys JV. So if you are on, especially boys JV, you are getting the worst conditions of anybody, just because of the nature of the run order. So the sharper your edges are, the more you're going to be able to help yourself. And if you're running in varsity, if girls or boys, if your skis are tuned up and you're fresh on the course, it will make a difference. If you can carve through some of that, especially the giant slalom courses where the gates are farther apart, and sometimes they make them wider so that you are having to make a really long, hard cut to get from one gate to another. And if you can dig in with your skis and get them to really bite, that will make a huge difference. The difference between you carving around them and you sliding out and then getting low on the hill and losing momentum and speed to have to come back to get to the next turn. And for slalom, the same thing applies. If you can transition between edge to edge when the gates are closer together, if your edges are sharp enough, it will make a difference in the way you get around the course. So the more you can do it, the better. Again, it's not a requirement. It's just something I strongly recommend. Again, Lemoy does a good job. I forget where else does it. I think REI does skis.
Eric's.
And Eric's does skis. And I know Lemoy has some of this stuff in their back sales area. I don't know about Eric's or REI. I don't know how much they have there. I think REI is more on the cross-country ski side. But again, all of this stuff I got on Amazon, so if you want to grab it, by all means. Otherwise, again, I usually bring that with me anyway. But that's basically it. That's kind of the, again, if you want to try, anybody wants to try one of those mechanical ones that you plug in and it just runs along, that'd be sweet.
Donations accepted.
Donations accepted. I'll set up a GoFundMe. That's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions?
So this part with removing the wax, that's after you've gone through and done everything, or is that before you're gonna actually go wax skis?
Taking it off?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the last step.
Okay, so
This
it's
is
more
the-
or less smoothing it out.
Yeah, this is you just scrape, like what I end up doing is I will just scrape and scrape and scrape, and you can kind of tell out, sorry Mike. I'm gonna keep going and going and going, and you can see where it starts coming off, and you can, what I'll do is I'll start getting frustrated, and I wanna go back upstairs and watch TV. So I will just go like this. You can kind of, again, I'm not going back and forth. You don't wanna go back and forth with it, it's always tip to tail. But I will stop and back up and do like multiple scrapes, and then I'll start cursing at it. It's like, how much did I put on there? And then at some points, if it's not 100% level, like I can see I'm leaving, like there's a coloration right here. Okay, great. That's where the brush is coming, because the brushes will also help clear off some of the excess. Now there's one back here, not a huge deal, because again, the biggest point is you want this section of the ski to be, as clean as you can. I mean, I can always get in there, and if you, depending on the angle you use, if you're up vertical, it's not going to bite as much. The further over you carry it, it's going to get in there and dig it out. But yeah, it is just, it's a pain in the ass. It's a lot of work. That is the most time-consuming part of getting the wax on. But once you get off, it's satisfying to see how the ski looks at the end of the day. This is going to work really well. And again, if you're going to change it based on the temperature, like if we have a really cold night, which it's been a minute since we've had a really cold race night. Last year we were racing in fog. Like you could not see the bottom of the hill. And this is at, well now it's Crystal Ridge again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at if you've ever been to Crystal Ridge, you know it's gonna be no hill around here as big. But it's not that tall, but we could not see the bottom of the hill. It was fog, it was warm. And so I if you're gonna put that wax on when you're just adjusting it for the temperature, you don't have to go super thick, especially if you're just doing it for the race. You can kind of make a quick, not as nearly as bumpy as the one I did. You don't have to put nearly as much on, so you're not going to be scraping as long. For me, for the first one of the year, I usually go a little bit thicker because I had some decent gouges in this thing. If you get chunks taken out, again, you can use the P-tack. That will help as well. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, taking the wax off is the biggest pain in the butt. That's where I usually call my daughter. I'm like, okay, your turn. Take off the wax. But once you get on, and even if you leave a little bit on there, it's not the worst thing in the world. The biggest thing is if you've got some run lines in there or some grooves that are in there, if you just want to get that as much off there as you can and get it smoothed out, you can leave. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be like when you take it off. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. But if you're taking it off and you're coming back and there's just a little bit like on the bottom like that, it's fine. It's pretty good. And then you can use the brushes to take off some of the extra parts of it. And then I left my towel in my truck. But getting a towel, and then once you're done with the brushes and just sweeping it all off, and then again a shot back helps tremendously. Yeah, and if you do in your basement, same paper as well, unless you're putting a tarp down. That's pretty much it. Any questions about ski team in general?
I was gonna add just real quick. So sometimes hitting that edge with the 1000 like diamond grit actually helps harden that edge, and then your tune holds up longer. That's why I hit it.
That's why you like it.
Because it takes those little micro valleys and peaks and makes them smaller, and then holds up longer. So my other recommendation, if you're gonna get a kit, is buy the whole kit at one time rather than buying it piece by piece, because you'll spend a lot more than just buying the whole thing for maybe it's
And if you buy the whole kit, even if you just get if you're gonna get wax, I would recommend the red stuff, just because the temperature range is, what was it? It was minus 12 to 36, which is a decent range for what we race in. You can start there, and if you want to, obviously I went a little bit on a rabbit hole with that. The whole kit, and you tune your skis twice. It's paid for itself already, and I've used this, I don't know, 50 times maybe since I got it. tuning everybody's skis, and I kind of nerded out